Hi guys, this is Arif from TechShare. Today I'm going to briefly describe about a couple of things. Predominantly, I'm going to focus on how you are going to apply the customization, the globalization uh, in your website through Sitecore. So Sitecore has the capacity to globalize your website. So you need to do a couple of things to support that. So I'm gonna share that part, as well as I'm going to give you some idea about different item versioning, and also some other settings of fields or field level. So let's jump into the Sitecore now. So I'm in the Sitecore. So let me expand this home item and the sample item. So if I go now, publish experience editor, they are gonna see that the pretty common picture or page or item of Sitecore. So now let me uh, go through here on the right side of this sample item. You see this is the language. You can actually see different version of your language of that item, and the top, the rightmost, you can see the different version of your item. So from these two menu, you can at least understand that a item can be configured in the two types of versioning. Number one is your language versioning, and number two is your number versioning. So yeah, I mean, you have an item, sample item, so you can create your different language version of that item, and again, you can also create different number version. So how it works? So right now you are in English, right? So you can create a new number version. How are you gonna achieve that? You can actually click this add version, then you can see this is the latest version of this item, number 2, right? So now this is English version. So you can create a Japanese version as well. So if you go Japanese version, then literally you can't see anything. So you can click this add new version, then it will create a Japanese version. Or you can actually go this version tab on the top, and you can click this add button as well. So that are gonna support the same thing. So now this way, what you can do is you can define your different number and language version together. So if you now publish this Japanese version, so Japanese version has a number version of 1. So next day, if you want to change something in terms of the content of your item, and for that, if you want to create a new version, then that will be your latest version of this Japanese language version item. Again, in the same concept, if you have this language version and you have the latest version of 2, just keep in mind that if you publish now, so the website will be reflected with the latest version, right? So in the number version, the website will always take the latest version, and for language version, it will actually deploy all the different version to your website. Okay, so I hope it is now clear about this different versioning. So let me jump into the English version, and this is the sample item. Let me copy paste. I'm gonna give you the example of it's gonna look like when we'll publish this thing. The sample item, if you go to Google Translator, yeah, and then paste this value, and from here go to Japan and copy this value. And now if you go to your Japanese language version and save this one, and if you want to see this version in the website how it's going to look like, so what you need to do is go to experience editor and see how it looks. So you can see here, so this is your Japanese how actually website determines this kind of thing. Website actually determines, or website code will determine through your web URL, through your query string. So you can see here there is a extra parameter we are passing now, SC language. So if SC language is JGP, means that will actually definitely Japan. So if you use EN, for example, then that's gonna pick up the English version, language version of that item. All right. So the next thing I'm gonna discuss about the field. So if you see this sample item, and if you go to the template, so you can see the template. Click that, and then you're gonna see that there are two fields we are going to use with that item. One is title, and another one is text. So this is the type columns where you can actually configure the field type, like single line text, is text, and this is the source where you can also configure the source of your field. Example would be if you wanna have a tree or any kind of list field type, then you can actually point a source like a folder or any item where it has maybe sub items, five or six, and then those five or six items will be your source of that list. So yeah, in many ways we actually configure that in Sitecore. But what I'm more interested now is these two extra column that we have. One is unversioned, another one is shared. So if you don't tick anything like this, title and text, so by default, those two fields will be versioned. So yeah, that is the default kind of behavior of each field type. So version means these two fields are going to support for your language version as well as your number version of that particular item. It means, so for example, if you have this sample item, so you can define the value of title based on different languages and also different version. Quite clear. And now the important or interesting thing is shared. So if you apply shared, so I now apply title as shared, and let me see how it behaves. So okay, let me give it to you. So like save, yes, because it is using two different items, or we have a item with different versions, so that's why it says that message warning message kind of thing, but it's okay. So if you mark this title as shared, means this field is going to shared for all the version that you already used for that field. It means this sample item, if you have different languages or number version, you can't actually get different value for different version of that field. So it will be shared. So if you change in one version, all the other version is going to share the same value. So that way, what you can do is, I already saved that, close that one, and now let me give it to you. So now title Japan, and also you can see the English. See now, I move to English, so still it is showing the Japanese, because this is the value that I last time set. So that's why it is always picking that value. So it is now shared. So even though if I go to other number version, you see the title, data or content is always going to give you the same value. So that you really do not, I mean, sometimes we need to apply this rule to certain fields, but definitely it is not like we'll always do for all the fields. You really understand that now. But yeah, this is really interesting. I'll show you why and how. But yeah, you now understand that, okay, this is shared. Okay, let's jump into that template again. And what I'm gonna do is, now I'm gonna take off this one. Okay, and then I'll save that. And what I'll do now, I'll tick this unversioned. Okay, what is unversioned? Unversioned is pretty interesting. So if you mark a field as unversioned, means whenever you are going to create a language version, you will always get different, or you can actually assign different value of that field for different language version. But the number version is going to be same. Really interesting. So if you create many number version, you can't actually assign different values for number version. But if you create different language version, then you can actually do that. So okay, let me prove the theory. Save that, and then I will explain why it is really necessary. So now go to sample item, and now you can see here in Japanese. Go to English version, and it is now, yeah. So let me do this. This is sample item, for example. If I save now, since it is unversion, so you'll see it should work. So English is there. If you go Japanese, Japanese is different language. So yeah, it is actually working for different language version. So what I'm gonna do is now, so I'll create a version 3, right? And I'll try to change this one, for example, version V3, and save. Then you'll see, if you go to earlier version like version 2, you'll see this. So you can see the number version is also, reflected with the latest version. So ideally, if you have a version field, then that should not change, but now it is changing. So you understand now, non-version means when you are gonna set, or you can set different values for different language version, but you can't set for different number version. So I believe now it is quite clear about this different versioning that we can apply in Sitecore field. And you might be wondering to think why it is really important. Yes, this is important if you consider, especially this unversioned is really important if you want to consider globalization of a of your website, or this particular item. This item has some sort of responsibility to support globalization. Then sometimes, or some of the fields, we really need to apply this unversion. And then you will be wondering why. Okay, let me give it to you some sort of example. So if you see the globalization apply, where we actually apply the globalization in the different website, so we might have some data that we really want to change based on different language. Like, for example, we have a form that says registration form, right? In the registration form, um, what we have is there are some instructions like enter your name, and then there is a text box, enter your address, and there is another text box. And you want to configure this enter your name and enter your address will be displayed based on different language that you're gonna see in the website. So maybe in Hindi language or Bangla language, enter your name will be replaced with some other text, and the other one, enter your address, will be some other text, right? So I'll give you an example right now. Right now means now, and then you will understand. But my concept is, in such case, what we really need to do is, we really don't need to change the value, the instruction value, enter your name or enter your address based on different version, because that is always going to be the same for that particular language. But if you want to change the language to in other language, then that value needs to change, right? So that's why in on direction, like language direction, we need to always change the value based on different language. But we really don't need to change based on different version, number version of that item. Okay, because enter your name in my language Bangla is always going to be the same for different version, 1 2 3 4 5 6 number version, whatever the version, because the instruction is going to be the same. Maybe the value will be different, so that value field will be maybe versioned, but the instruction field will be non-versioned, so that it's gonna support for different language version but not the number version. If it is quite confusing, then what I'm gonna do right now is I'm going to create a template for you guys, and I'll just design this to enter your name and name field, then enter your address, and there would be address field. And then I'm going to create an item straight away, and then I'm going to demo that how it's gonna work for different language version but not number version. And that will prove, or that will explain quite clearly about this non-versioned or unversioned field, unversioned behavior of the field. Okay, so just hold tight. Okay, so what I'm gonna do quickly now is go to template, and go to sample, and right click, insert new template, and then registration. Okay, and next, next, close. All right, so now registration area, this is a section. So I would say uh, name, name label, and I would say single line text, and I would say non unversion, right? And then I would say name, normal name is going to be your name field. So I'm going to, okay, this would always be single line text, and this will be version. So I'm not going to take anything here. And then I would say address label, single line text, and this is going to be unversion, and there will be another address, and I'm going to put it as rich text box. And yeah, I am not going to tick anything because that would be versioned. Save that. Okay, and now go here, home, and I'm gonna create a new item. Okay, insert from template. And what you can do now is you can select that particular template to create your item. So this is the sample item, registration, and I'm say uh, registration. Okay, registration item, whatever. Okay, pretty cool. So now you have intern, yeah, name label, name, address label, address. So this is the design of my item. So maybe the view or rendering area or rendering part of that particular item is going to be the real design where you have the interior name that will come from this field. So for English, so right now I am in English, it would be enter your name, and this text value is going to be, for example, empty. So add I'll add the value maybe in runtime. Okay, or yeah, you can actually do the value right now. So I would say my name is Arif, and enter your address, and I can set my address here. So right now it is empty, no problem. Save this one, right? And now let's jump into the Japanese version. Add a version here and enter your name in Japanese language. Google Translation again, and let me enter your name, and let's go to Japanese language and copy that and go quickly here, save that. And I'm not gonna add anything name here because this is version completely fine. And enter your address is gonna be interior address gonna be this one. Copy that one and save it here, right? Now save this one. Okay, so I have now two version. If you go to experience editor, okay, save, um, hold on. So this registration item, and it doesn't have any presentation details. So if you see this sample item has a presentation details of sample layout. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use the same for that as well. So you can go there, presentation details, and then what you can do is you can actually set a layout would be sample layout, and sample layout. And yeah, so there is a on problem because to support this name and address label and everything to display in a rendering, we also need to do a little bit of work uh, on the rendering side as well. So how you going to achieve that rendering part? Okay, for that I actually need to create a small MVC application, and I need to get the name label, and I need to actually render that. And then through that, what I can do is I can go there, I can select my layout for that if I want to use this new layout. And then I also need to add my different renderings here in this section. um, if you click edit, then you can actually add different renderings through that, and that way you can actually display, because right now the default rendering that we have, it's not going to support this item. Okay, so to display that, I'm thinking I'll create a separate new video to display the rendering and field and everything. But right now, what I can prove that this way. So in Japanese, and just go to the English version and then enter your name, and this my name, and this is the address, right? So if you create another version, for example, okay, and then you will see in the new version, you will see this interior name, this instruction is not going to sense, right? Because this English version, it is always true. You will always say interior name. You never say interior some other thing for different version, right? So interior name, and then this time I would say my name is XYZ, for example, XYZ or whatever, and I save that. So if I save that, and if you go to first version, because this field name and address, this two field is my version field. That's why it always have a different name for different version of your number version of your item. So if you go this one, then you'll see my name is there different, and then if you go to this two version, number version, then you will see the name is different, but it always going to be the same for the instruction, like the label enter your name, right? So if you, for example, just to test the theory, if you save that, then you will see the all the version number version is going to be the same. So it means, like, it will expect that this name label is going to be unversion, means it will be always same for different number version, but definitely not for different language version. For example, if you go to Japan, it has the different thing, the instruction for the Japanese language, the label for the Japanese language, that is different. Similar way, if you have a new different language, then you can actually do the same thing. Okay, I hope this is quite clear now. The next video what I'm going to do is I'll create a small rendering, and then I'll show you how to create that small rendering, although I have already a couple of videos where I actually showed that very advanced level of rendering and all the other things and everything, how to create a professional web application, Sitecore backed application or front back application through JSS. Everything you will see there in my videos. But yeah, maybe the next video what I'm going to do is I'll show you more about this language or globalization thing, in terms of the rendering area, where I can create a small embassy application, and I'll show you how this name label name and address label address will be reflected in the form, and then how you actually save the data through that. And then probably that video I'll also cover, because this kind of registration data or comments data, how you going to store that is also really challenging in Sitecore, because that's going to be very very big. If you have, for example, 1 million user, then you have to have 1 million item maybe. So are you thinking to store this data in a sub item of this registration item? Maybe registration item would have a sub item or list of items to have this, because definitely registration item won't be duplicate, right? Registration item is your item, but it might have sub items where it might have a item for my name, for other xyz, or anything, or even you can pick the data, and then you can actually save somewhere else. That is up to you. But ideally, Sitecore, if you use Sitecore, then every responsibility should go to Sitecore, and Sitecore should store all the information for you, all the item information for you. So whenever there is a possibility to have a big chunk of data like this kind of or this nature, then what you can apply the other feature of Sitecore, it is called bucketing. So how can we actually apply the bucketing feature of Sitecore here? That will also I'm going to show you in the next video, along with this registration rendering as well. But I am pretty sure, and I hope that you understand quite clearly what is different versioning, and in terms of the globalization, how it works with globalization, for different versioning in terms of language and number, and also this non-versioned and also versioned and shared, how it works through your globalization. Everything should be really clear now. I really hope that. So if you have any question, just post in the comments. I'll definitely reply. And for today, bye bye, have a good day. I'll see you soon.